Alright, so I hope you had a chance to take a look at the shape tools and explore it around a little bit. Now, I did give you a little exercise to create a circle and give it an orange fill as well as a border that's black. So we're going to do that together in this lecture and then go over just a few other things that I want to explore with shapes with you. So first things first, let's go ahead and I'm going to delete this circle that I already created. So as I mentioned before, there are shortcuts to create shapes. So the one for ellipses, which is what you use to create a circle, is E. So at any point, if you're in your artboard, you can go ahead and simply press the E key on your keyboard, which will put you in the same mode as the ellipse mode over here. If not, you can always pressing escape and then going ahead and clicking on the ellipse tool. Now, I didn't mention exactly what size the circle should be or how thick the border should be, so I left that up to you, but for the sake of this lesson, we're just going to go ahead and make it a circle that's 400 pixels by 400 pixels. Now, one thing I do want to note is that if you do want to make a circle or a shape that's a specific size, you can go ahead and simply click on your canvas and then go ahead and start drawing your ellipse here. Now, right now, I don't know what size my ellipse is, but what I can do is I can go ahead and first of all hold shift so that it's a perfect circle. Otherwise, I'm going to be making an oval shape. And then on the right side here in the transform property panel, as I'm dragging my shape, you can see the size, the pixel size here. So if at any point I do let go, the shape will be created at that size. Now what happened here, which can sometimes happen, is that I let go of shift before I actually created my circle. So if something like this does happen to you, you can just simply go ahead and either delete it or just press Command Z to undo that and then do it one more time, making sure that you hold shift all the way through while you're dragging your shape. So if I just let go over here, this is the perfect 400 by 400 pixels. But again, you can always adjust your shape or object size from here, the width and the height. Since we already have the perfect 400 pixel by 400 pixel circle, we can leave that as it is. Let's go ahead and select our select tool over here. Click the circle, which we already have selected. And then going ahead to the fill portion over here, let's go ahead and give it a fill of orange. So on the slider over here, you can just go ahead and pick kind of an orange hue. So I think somewhere like this works. Then going ahead and dragging this little color selector or hue selector on the color that you want. I think this is a good orange color. And then for the border, let's also go ahead and give it a size of 20 pixel, similar to what we have with this square over here. And then for the border color, we can just go ahead and click on this. And for black, we can simply go ahead and drag this little color selector all the way down to the bottom right, which will go ahead and give us this black border color. Cool. So now we have a circle, an orange circle with a black border around it. Two little things I want to mention in this video. One of them is the cool feature of pasting appearances. So if you remember while we were going through the menu options for XD, we talked about how we can actually copy and paste appearances between different objects. So let's say I want to apply this orange circle's appearance on this square. I have two options. I can go ahead and click on the square and then make those same adjustments here. Now, one cool thing is that I can click this little eyedropper tool over here, go ahead and click on this orange to give me exactly that color. So this little eyedropper tool allows you to give your fill or your border color the same color as your cursor. So whatever your cursor is looking at, so if it's on this little black border here, then it will go ahead and change the fill to black, depending on where you click. I'm going to use Command Z to just undo that 2 times and go back to my blue square. Now I'm going to show you an easier way to actually give your square the same appearance as your oval. And simply, you can do that by clicking on the square, pressing Command C, which is the same as copy, or Control C on Windows. Click your square, but instead of actually pasting, which would paste another oval, instead of doing that, I'm going to just use Command Z to undo that. You're going to go ahead and click your square and press Option Command V, which you can also do by going to Edit Paste Appearance in your menu. So essentially what that's done is that it's gone ahead and given my square the same appearance as the circle. Now, if I gave that circle a shadow or a blur or anything else, then that same effects will also be copied over to the shape. So this is very useful and saves us a lot of time if we want to go ahead and use the same style between different shapes or objects. So that's a little neat trick for giving your objects the same appearances. Another cool thing that I want to share with you about rectangles, you can actually go ahead and round the corners of your rectangle. So whether it's a square or a rectangle, you can go ahead and go to any corner. So as you can see, this little corner over here, make sure you're not clicking the outer circle, which will go ahead and let you resize your shape. I'm going to use Command Z to undo that, but I'm talking about this inner circle over here. This inner circle, if you go ahead and hold it and drag, will allow you to actually round the borders or the corners of your shape. So the more I drag within, the more it will turn into an ellipse and become fully rounded, especially because this is a square. Or if I go ahead and just do a slightly rounded corners, I can do something like that, which we can use for buttons, shapes, app icons, and so on and so forth. Now you can always tweak this corner radius by going to the right side over here, and down here under appearance, you'll see this little corner radius option. You can go ahead and change this number over here. So right now we have a corner radius of 75, but if we set it to, let's say, 25, now you can see your square will have a slightly less rounded corner. And if you want specific corner radiuses for different corners, we can go ahead and actually click this little icon over here, and then it will give us options to change our corner radius on specific corners. And this goes in the format of top left, top right, and bottom left. So if we change the top left to, let's say, 75, now we have a more rounded top left corner than the other sides. And now if I go ahead and tweak this, it will go ahead and change all the borders again, or all the corners radiuses again. But if I just undo that and hold Alt while I do that, now you can see by holding Alt, I can just alter that corner radius by itself without impacting the other ones, and I can do the same thing at other corners as well. Pretty sweet. That's a little neat trick for giving your shapes a rounded border. I'm going to use Command Z a bunch of times to just go back to a perfect 25 on all sides or all corners for the radius, and just leave it as it is. In the following lectures, we're going to come back and explore our line and pen tools for creating more custom shapes.